Day and in recognition of the 20th anniversary of the first Conference of Small Island Developing States in 1994. Dr. Law then commended the Barbados Fire Service for what he says is its excellent work in keeping the blazes under control. He's calling on homeowners to scale back on the practice of burning rubbish. With respect to the Environmental Protection Act, he provided an update on the proposed legislation.
The Chief Parliamentary Council has drafted the first draft. We submitted it for our purview. We've looked it over. We're satisfied that it is in good shape to go forward, and it should be going forward to Cabinet within the next few weeks.
Dr. Law says illegal dumping is also a major concern for government.
Very hard to make sure that we get the legislative framework in place that will beef up the penalties on illegal dumping, and that would also place a greater level of watchfulness from the government side around the country relative to illegal dumping.
Leader of the opposition, Mia Motley, says there are two ways to settle the impasse over retrenchments at the National Conservation Commission. They include the legal or industrial political route. She, however, told a BLP meeting at the St. Christopher Primary School that the unions did not offer workers the legal option. She also raised questions about the Employment Rights Tribunal. Ms. Motley says there also appears to be a climate of fear in Barbados. She says while it is expected that the opposition will speak out on the issues, it's rare for other people not to let their voices be heard. She also wants the Minister of Education, Ronald Jones, to ease the situation for students of the next semester at the University of the West Indies, Capehill campus.
You cannot now, with less than 3 months to go, continue with the charade of confusion where people do not know if they are going to be able to resume school, and, sorry for those who have not started, be able to get in for the first time. A mother or father that has 3 or 4 children must revert to the dark old days of eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Which one will I choose?
Self-employment is becoming a more viable career option. This suggestion from Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Youth, Ruth Blackman. She says advances in technology, changing market demands, and the prevailing economic climate are driving many to become entrepreneurs. She adds that the Youth Leadership Scheme is moving to equip these individuals through its Entrepreneurship Development Training Program.
At the end of the process, we aim to develop well-rounded individuals who are knowledgeable, innovative, and productive, and can cope with the demands of a dynamic and challenging business environment. Training is but one of the key ingredients of your success. Yes, we'll provide you with guidance and tangible support, as well as affordable, specialized assistance that you can tap into.
A Barbadian man nabbed at the Grantley Adams International Airport attempting to smuggle drugs into the island is to appear in court today. 32-year-old Samuel Andrew Maynard of Hinkson Gap, New Orleans, St. Michael, was held following a joint operation between the drug squad and the Customs and Excise Department. Maynard arrived by air from Canada on Saturday afternoon, cleared immigration, and was interviewed by drug squad personnel. He was then referred to Customs, where searches revealed 12 packets of the illegal cannabis. 8 were discovered concealed in a false compartment of his suitcase, and 4 were concealed in packets of biscuits. The 4-H Foundation is considering acquiring a parcel of land to further develop the agricultural skills of young Barbadians. Word of this from its chairman, Osborne Haywood. He provided some insight into the proposal at the Barbados 4-H Foundation's exhibition and prize-giving ceremony at the Lestavon School.
Where we'll be able to practice technology within agriculture. And I say technology, one being growing organic vegetables within a greenhouse setting. We want to look at developing a plant museum where we could focus on medicinal herbs. And it's certain that the older folks will know about Cersei bush and the other things. All young people do not know those things. So we want to create that garden.
3 students of the Ellerton Primary School have been rewarded for outstanding performances in the classroom and on the field. Students at the school were asked to write an essay explaining why they deserve to receive the scholarships that are given in the name of the late Doreen Goddard, a former resident of St. George. It's the 2nd year the scholarships are being offered. This year, 9-year-olds Talia Trotman and Taquana Mentor impressed with their essays, while Adriel Seeley-Tull was given a special award. Members of the Goddard family were on hand at the school for the presentation, and they also had a gift for the school's nursery class, promising that even more will be given.
Remember that we are providing the tools. Life is one big cycle. So somebody provide the tools, somebody help you with your homework, and somebody needs to guide and direct you. And I'm asking the teachers to really help with the children, because they're our precious resource, they're our future. And unless we nurture, and like you plant a plant, and unless you water that plant and fertilize that plant, you're not going to get some good fruit and good results. So we're trying to sow these positive seeds in this community, because we want to have a good community, a good nation.
MP for St. George South, Dwight Sutherland, says he's pleased with the projects like the scholarship drive that can motivate and inspire children.
Projects like these, students writing essays, and your motto, in pursuit of excellence, nothing is too hard for me. That says a lot. And what you aspire, you will achieve. Excellence is what you're aspiring to. And I heard Hazel say the sky is your limit, and I endorse that.
In Trinidad, 2 young boys, aged 9 and 15 years old, were murdered execution style after gunmen stormed their family's home. The boys are believed to have been involved in several robberies in the Port of Spain area. They were forced to lie down and were shot in the head. A 16-year-old neighbor who was also inside the home with the brothers at the time was shot in his leg. The boy's mother escaped unhurt. Dominica was shaken by a moderate quake early Sunday. The Office of Disaster Management says the 4.1 magnitude quake occurred at 6 minutes after 2, around 60 kilometers east of the capital, Roseau. It struck at a depth of 10 kilometers. No damages have been reported. Several other small quakes have been reported in the northern Caribbean of the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. Bermuda's government says it has no plans to legalize marijuana, but under planned reforms of cannabis laws, police could be allowed to give on-the-spot cautions to offenders caught with small amounts of the drug intended for personal use. Currently, offenders are charged and have to go through the court system unless a caution is approved by the Department of Public Prosecutions. Premier Michael Dunkley outlined government's position during a debate on the findings of the Cannabis Reform Collaborative. The Independent Advisory Group submitted its 137-page report to the House of Assembly last month. Among its recommendations are a call to make cannabis immediately available for medicinal use, the decriminalization of possession for personal use, and the eventual legalization of cannabis. Public outrage is growing in India over the gang rape and murder of 2 teenage girls found hanging from a tree in northern India. The 3 suspects detained have pleaded guilty to raping the girls, but not to killing them. The distraught parents said they want justice.
Authorities are being quite tight-lipped about the investigation. We know the forensic teams have arrived now to the village. We also know that the Central Bureau of Investigation, which is the federal investigating agency, is set to take over this case, so we can expect things to move much faster thereafter. And we're also hearing that this particular case will be fast-tracked, which means that the court will be meeting regularly, if not daily, for this case. So some steps towards justice for the family.
From rooftops, through mud walls, people in Katra still trying to come to terms with what's just happened in their remote village. This horrific image fresh in everyone's minds. When we saw the girls hanging, the whole village was crying, she says. The teenagers were allegedly gang raped by 3 brothers, then hanged from a mango tree. This normally peaceful mango orchard has turned into a high-profile crime scene. You can see the huge media presence over here. And this is the mango tree where the 2 bodies were found hanging. One of the girls was over here on this branch and the other over there. The girls were cousins. Their mothers still so shocked they can barely speak. Then, this burst of anger. The rapists should be hanged just like they hanged our daughters. That's all we want, nothing else, she says.
After 39 years on the throne, King Juan Carlos of Spain will abdicate in favor of his son, Crown Prince Felipe. Once one of the world's most popular monarchs, Juan Carlos has been plagued by a series of scandals that have sent his popularity plummeting.
Some had been calling for this, but the timing of this on this Monday in Madrid was certainly a surprise to everyone except perhaps a handful of insiders to the king himself and to the prime minister. We're outside the Palacio de la Zarzuela. This is the king's palace on the outskirts of town, and it goes way back in there. There are herds of deer running around and all sorts of animals. It's a former hunting lodge, a relatively modest palace, which has brought the media from Spain and a lot of international media is out here, and they're limiting us to shooting right here. We can't even shoot the front gate. Of course, we can't get inside. Now, the king himself took to the airwaves in a recorded statement. It was recorded in this compound a short while ago, and here's what he had to say, partially explaining his reasons. Let's listen.
I'm doing so in order to give the best service to the Spanish, and also have decided to put an end to my kingdom and to abdicate the throne of Spain, so that through the government and the courts, the succession can take effect according to institutional law.
Now, the 76-year-old king says his 46-year-old son, the Crown Prince Felipe, first in line to the throne, embodies stability. That's the word that the king used, and he will have fresh ideas to carry forward the monarchy. What the king did not mention in this statement were a series of scandals that have really hit the institution and the king himself hard. His personal behavior scandals relating to a much criticized hunting trip to Africa, a safari, while Spaniards were suffering in the economic crisis. And he did not mention the financial corruption scandal that's hit his daughter, the princess, and also her husband for alleged financial corruption, diverting public funds into their private pockets, which they denied, although there is a court investigation.
A U.S. Army soldier is free after being held captive by the Taliban in Afghanistan for 5 years. He was released as part of a prisoner swap. The soldier is now in Germany at a military hospital. However, some have criticized the deal.
A day after the president's emotional celebration with Bo Bergdahl's parents in the Rose Garden, tough questions for his national security advisor, Susan Rice, on CNN's State of the Union with Candy Crowley.
Point blank, did the U.S. negotiate with terrorists for his release?
Candy, what we did was ensure that, as always, the United States doesn't leave a man or a woman on the battlefield.
Rice said what she called the acute urgency of Bergdahl's failing health justified not telling Congress 30 days beforehand as the law requires.
So there was a conscious decision to break the law as you know it, dealing with the detainees and the release of them?
Candy, no. The Department of Defense consulted with the Department of Justice, and it is our view that it was appropriate and necessary to do this in order to bring Sergeant Bergdahl back safely.
And Rice said Qatar's emir had assured President Obama the 5 Taliban Guantanamo detainees swapped for Bergdahl would not pose a significant risk.
There are restrictions on their movement and behavior. I'm not at liberty to get into detail about the precise nature of those restrictions.
Republican Mike Rogers, the House Intelligence Chairman, countered that there's now a price on American soldiers' heads.
So we have a changing footprint in Afghanistan, which would put our soldiers at risk for this notion that if I can get one, I can get 5 Taliban released.
But Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel insisted this was about saving a soldier's life.
We didn't negotiate with terrorists. Sergeant Bergdahl is a prisoner of war.